What we call a fill-in, like the doctor's report. This is the general information, included with it the structure, the flow, the themes, and any related angles of vision. All right, now the slokas, and we've presented this before, it seems to be quite effective. We have used the flow here to show each sloka, which section it belongs to, and how it represents the flow. We chose what we call an anchor or trigger word that gives you the title for this particular sloka. And you'll see many of them say the same thing, always, meditate, remember, remembering, attaining. You see, it's reinforced constantly. So we'll go through those when we go through. We have slides to accompany each of those words, as well as the sloka. And we have before and after pictures of the topics. Now we're going to be really trying to find a way to simplify these 6 topics. In 28 slokas, we have 6 topics. Now, if you just try to do 6, it's a little hard to remember, but we'll show you how to group them, so it will be very easy to remember them. The whole secret of study is to make it mind easy. How do I analyze it so my job is not as difficult as it may appear to be? Usually things look threatening, but if you spend a moment analyzing, it's not as bad. All right, now beyond that, we have the key memory verses, only 5 in this chapter, but they're very important. And you'll see in the section of remembering, 5, 6, 7, and I believe 8. No, it's 7, right, 5, 6, 7. 14, this is an important thing to understand. The most important thing in any composition, not only the Gita, is that the critical thing is in the center. The Gita is in the middle of the Mahabharata. The 9th chapter is in the middle of the Bhagavad-Gita. In the middle of the Bhagavad-Gita, 9th chapter, we end with 934, Manmana. Now this has 28 slokas, and what's the key sloka in the middle? 14. That's the pure devotional service sloka. You will see this pattern. It's a macrocosm, it's a microcosm. You will find this in every division and every subdivision. The middle sloka, almost without fail, is the key sloka of a section. 14 in this chapter is the verse on pure devotional service, which is what we must attain to gain entrance into the Lord's abode. The other sections were done from before, definitions very extensive. It's there for reference, nothing we try to cover. Analogies and examples, again by section, I have old ones. If there's time, we'd like to quickly look at some of them. Analogies help us get a concrete understanding of something abstract. Prabhupada uses them extensively throughout the purports. So wherever I found something where he actually gives an analogy or he strikes at some philosophical point that we should remember, there's a slide to accompany each and every one of these. And these are available online. If you are not getting them now, we can arrange for you to do that. Then we have, beyond that, values, objectives, checklist by section again. What's my assessment of myself? No one will stand around to give me a certificate. No one will follow me around to say, do this, do that. Super Soul will, but he's neutral. It gives you the freedom to make the choice. Do I want Krishna or do I want the external, binding, miserable, living material energy? We have that choice. We made the wrong one. Now we're trying to free ourselves of that misconception. And then we have beyond that, we have the list of, there's even a verse question bank here that we had done, I'd done it before. The list of cited verses and the 28 slokas in there and how often they were cited. And I think of the 28, Prabhupada says 27 were cited. Only one perhaps not. Okay, that's something I like to add. So if you'd like to know how many times certain slokas were cited, you have that reference. Scripture references are there. And then you have the charts, and these charts are done with a before and after. You can fill them in so you can see. The first chart is the bhakti-yoga chart. Which section are we in? We are in the second chapter of the middle section. And then this is like, again, we call this contextual referencing. Where are we? And then the next chart is where are we in terms of this chapter? We have 6 topics, before and after. You can fit in the numbers there, the size, and what the title is. The title is there, size. Then we have a before and after. We have picture charts for the 6 topics that help us remember. And then we have code charts for the same thing, 6 topics. Again, I'm going to be trying to even simplify this for you today. And then you have a big chart here on the 5 key memory verses and the key thematic. 5 is the key memory verse, and the other 4 are key thematic verses. Those are always required by preachers to know. Preachers are required to know those. Then we have the themes, very important. Which themes? I'm wondering if we got the right. I think we got the wrong one printed. Yeah, this one has only, yeah, this is the wrong one. We printed the wrong one. The 4 themes that we have, yeah, we printed from the last chapter. Wrong one. We should have double checked. This chapter will remark those, has 4. This one was left from 7. We try our best not to make a mistake, but that's one of the conditions. Then we have here a VIHC chart on the sacrificial approach to higher planetary systems. The devotee avoids this. Devotees do not want anything in the world of birth and death. They aim for Krishna Loka, and on the other side, different ways of leaving the body in the light and the dark and in the devotional method. And then we have the time scale for Brahma's day. That's presented in this chapter, and where we are. In the 311 trillion, 400 billion years of Brahma's life, we are down here in a 10,000 year period, which is now 5,000 years lapsed. 5,000 years is not too much in the scale of Brahma's day, which is considered a flash of lightning, a bubble in the ocean. 311 trillion, 400 billion, human years by human calculation, and we're here living 100 years if we're lucky, in a 10,000 year period, the Sandhya, the overlapping, Lord Chaitanya's period. And once it's over, Prabhupada said you don't want to be here. You want to be here. Okay? So we got that? All right. So we've gone over that now. Let's find a way now. We're going to go to the instruction objective section, and we're going to look at a way, how are we going to simplify these 6 topics? There is a very easy way about it. This particular chapter has 3 sections that are compare contrast. 3. How many? 3. And they comprise from verse 10 on. Those comparisons comprise that much of the chapter. The first sections, up through 9, deal with the questions that Arjuna asks and the answers that Krishna gives. Okay? So the questions, how many were there? 8. How many questions were there? 8 questions. In 2 slokas, Arjuna asks those 8 questions. In the next 2 slokas, Krishna answers 7. How many does he answer? 7. But in the next, from 5 till 9, he answers the 8th question, which is, and how can those engaged in devotional service remember you at the time of death? And that is the theme for the entire rest of the chapter. So do you understand how it works? Your first 4 verses are the questions and the answers. From 5, Krishna gives the answer to the last question in that section. And then finally, the rest are comparisons. You have to know what is the advantage of Krishna consciousness, to be fixed. So our first comparison, and I'll see if I got it. First comparison, no. We want to look to the slides, the instructional objectives, our first comparison. We want to make sure everybody understands this before we go through the sequence. Our first comparison, you can look at this if you can all see it. No. Where I have the 3. There it is. Okay, that one. Slide number 15. 15, next one. There we go. Can you see that slide? We're comparing 2 processes. What are we comparing? Two yogic processes. One is Sat Chakra Yoga, and the other one is Bhakti. You have to know why one is superior. The next comparison is what? Loud. 2 worlds. We're going to compare the material and the spiritual world. Now, we did that extensively the last time. That's why we always put this chart up. You have to know, what are my options? I'm here. But what's my alternative? The last comparison is what? Loudly?
2 times.
2 times. And why Bhakti is superior? Because if you use the yogic method, you have to calculate exactly the right time to achieve the desired goal. And it's risky. Has anybody ever tried to calculate the outcome of what he does and succeeded here? I never do. I calculate, and something else happens. What to speak of death? I'm going to calculate the time of day and the hour, and I'm going to be sure there's no cloud in the sky, and everything's perfect. Very, very difficult. Very few can do it. Bhishma could do it, but how many more people are named? Okay? So we're comparing, again, these 3 things. We're comparing 2 what, again? 2 processes, Sat Chakra Yoga and Bhakti. And we're comparing 2 worlds. What kind? Material and spiritual. And we're comparing 2 times, right? To leave in the light or to leave in the dark. And they're extensively described. Extensively described. So does that help you understand now that section? Now let's go back and look at the 2 blue charts. Okay. Here's the English, and then we'll see the Sanskrit. Because if we know that it's not as hard, we have exposed ourselves to these words before, we tend to slur over them. Oh, this is too complicated. No, we know these words. These are the 8 questions. Number 1, he wants to know, what's Brahman? What does he want to know? Brahman. He wants to know what is what? Loud. Everybody? The self. He wants to know next. What's the next one? Down. Fruitive activities. Then what's the next one he wants to know? Material nature. And then the next one. Yeah, who are the demigods? And then who's the Lord of what? Yeah, who's the Lord of sacrifice? And where does he live? Where does he live in the body? Where is the Lord of sacrifice? And finally, what does he know? What do I want to know? Yeah, how will I know you at death? Those are the 8 questions. Now let's see the Sanskrit. And when you see the Sanskrit, we've heard these. 4 of them are the 5 truths. 4 out of them are 4 out of the 5 truths. 3 of them are the 3 kleshas. 3 of them are the 10th objective of Shastric study, the relationship of Jiva, Ishvara, and Prakriti. It's all over the place. It's not new to us. You have to see, where have I heard this before? Okay? So let's look at the Sanskrit now. We're spending a lot of time, but I think we can go through everything, but you have to really get to the heart of it. Then you have something substantial, and it won't scare you. All right. What is the first word again? Same is in English. What's the first word, everybody? Brahma. Brahma. What is Brahma? No, this is Brahma. Next word is what's self. What's the word? Adhyatmika. Right, the kleshas of the body and the mind. We've heard it 1,000 times. Adhyatma, what is the self? But this means what is your eternal nature? He describes it differently. Next, what's the next word? Karma. That's fruit. You know what karma means? Bodies that are the force of material consciousness. The minute we have material consciousness, you have to get a body. You have material consciousness, you have to get a body to fulfill it. Birth, death, again and again. It has to be cut. Karma can be stopped. Of the 5 truths, karma is the only one that is not eternal, and that's why we study the Gita, to stop it. You don't want to make more karma. Anybody here want to make more karma? No. Adibhutam, adibodhika, the kleshas of another living entity, mosquito, somebody who doesn't like you, the government, adibodhika. Now, Krishna describes this as the whole material nature, endlessly changing. The next one is Adidaivika. Yes, the demigods, the heat, the rain, the torrents, the cyclones, the tidal waves, the earthquakes. Sufferings inflicted by the devas. But he describes this differently. He describes this as the universal form, which includes the demigods. Because the neophyte cannot contemplate Krishna. He has to contemplate the universal form. Everybody understand those points? Is that clear? So we know Adi Amika, Adi Bhaudika, Adi Daivika, but we're getting an understanding that's different in this chapter. And then we have Adi Yagya. Now Adi Yagya usually means Vishnu, or it may mean Indra. But here, Krishna says, no. I am that Lord of sacrifice. And then he says, but where do I live? Katam dehe, where do I live? I live in the heart as the super soul. But I am that, super soul is an expansion of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And prayana kale, this is the key, critical. That moment when your final exam comes, what you're thinking at that moment, just at the time you took birth, it calculated what your influences are by the devas. At the time of your death, it's calculated where you go. Heavy. Anybody here going to escape the exam? No. And how do we prepare for it? This chapter. Okay, does this help everybody? You got the idea? These are the 8 questions, Sanskrit and English. Not that threatening, really, once you know we've done them before. Okay, so we've got that part. Now, let us go back and we've done the charts. I want to we've got so much to cover. Yes, let's take a closer look. These are old slides, again, of a difference between the comparison. This is the Yoga Mishra Bhakti process, calculated. Devotional service, the 9 processes, guaranteed. Guaranteed. And only by those can you go to Krishna. Other processes can't take you there. Only bhakti can take you to Krishna. So you understand that first comparison between Yoga Mishra, right? Mixed. And even watch out for bhakti that's mixed. If your bhakti is Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, or Dhyana Mishra Bhakti, it can happen. I have a friend. He took a course in teaching yoga. The last I heard from him, oh, I'm teaching yoga now in Rishikesh, and I'm teaching philosophy. What happened to Krishna? What's he going to give those people? Birth and death. Very dangerous. No mix, pure. Next, the comparison of the material world and the spiritual world. What do you see in this one? Birth and death. This is called Martyaloka. Death is very prominent here. And what's the next one? What are we, the final? Yeah, 2 ways of leaving. One is what? In the light, and the other one is in the dark. Yeah, light means it has to be in the summer, so don't leave in the winter, right? When the sun is in the north. And it also has to be within the time of the moon in its waxing period. And then it has to be an auspicious moment with no clouds. No clouds. Because if there's any light covering it, it's not in the light. The other process at night, what happens? It's in the smoke, the dark, go back, and you have to go to the moon planet, live out your credits, 10,000 years, and come back. Not permanent. Not permanent. And even if the other yogi is Brahman realized, position is insecure. Usually they come back because they haven't reached the goal. And they get bored, lonely. So they come back to the material world. The only safe position is if you land in Goloka or in one of the Vaikuntha planets. Those are permanent. Everything else is temporary. Okay, everybody got the whole point of those two comparisons? All right, that was the most essential section. All right, now let's go to our retention objective. Oh, yeah, there was one more chart. I wanted to show you that one. That one with the video chart. We put it in there? Did you put it in there? Yeah, that one. Okay. This is very important. We have a clip from of an old movie, 2009, called Who Are You Human, to share. And in that video, it shows how the Maha Mantra supersedes all other processes, which is what we chant. It supersedes all other processes for even the Sat Chakra Yoga system. The lower, we have 7 chakras, energy centers, and the lower ones deal with the body, and the upper ones deal with the mind, intelligence. The middle one is the heart chakra. When the Maha Mantra is chanted, that in the heart, it automatically purifies the lower and the upper chakras, automatically. Whereas the yoga processes, you have to do it by endeavor. You'll see this in the video. It goes from the bottom chakra, from selfish taker. Have you noticed some people take, and some people do what? The opposite. They give. Some people, they want something. They won't do it if they don't get it. But the other person, he's selfless in his giving. He has no agenda. No agenda. Higher than that is sexuality, sensuality. The lower energy will drive you to that, but the higher one is celibacy. The next one, these are the 4 things, the human basic requirements, right? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Above that is food. What kind of food? Impure food. And that means it's food that's not offered. That's impure. Other than that is offered food. What is offerable, acceptable? That is food that is pure. If we go past the heart chakra, now the upper, the subtle body, the throat, speech is impure. But speech, for purified speech, it is purified speech. And that's explained in the 17th chapter. Austerity of speech. Higher than that is awareness. If one has any conception that he's not Brahman, that he's still the body, he's in nescience. Prabhupada said he's in ignorance. Only in the mode of goodness can one understand that he is separate. He's the soul. He's transcendental. And higher than that is, well, what's the goal? Often the yogis have still material desire. They want some mystic power. Only the devotee wants pure spirituality. So we'll be seeing that little video clip. Does that help convince you of the 2 processes on a chakra level? Because Prabhupada talks about this as being Sat Chakra Yoga versus Bhakti, and he said either one you cannot approach God without yoga. Yoga means link with God, plus. You have to practice yoga by he calls it Yoga Balena, the strength of yoga. That is how I attain Krishna. Okay? Does that chart help you there? A little bit? Yeah. Questions at the end, otherwise we can. All right, now our next step is let's go over the retention objectives quickly. We'll try to do that really fast. You got your study guides out? Do your fill-in and check in what you know from this chapter. And I'll try to write things, confirm them on the slate as well for you, so you can see a number and you can see it on the screen. All right. So you all have your checklist? All right, now from the opening slide, we can learn that number one, this is the answer to the questions. What is the chapter title? Everybody? Attaining the Supreme, and that means two things. It means Krishna and it means his abode. They're both the same. How do I attain him and how do I attain his abode? So everybody put a check on that. Do you see your checklist page? It's right in the back of the cover. Okay, take your cover. I don't know if it's better to use the checklist. Yeah, you all have it? Inside, right, there we go. You all have it? Hold it up so everybody can see. Help your neighbor, be study buddies. See if your friend has it right. Okay, here we go. Inside the cover. Neela, you know where we are. Okay, you got it? No. Yeah, inside the cover, your retentions checklist.
This one. That one.
Yeah. There you go. Got it.
This one. No, I'll do some of
All right, here it is. Everybody got it? Check your neighbor. Some of them have fallen asleep already. It must be boring. Huh? We try to make it interesting. It takes a little bit. This is a little bit of rigorous class, you know. Got it? Everybody got the retention? Okay. The first thing I need to know, what's the name of the chapter? What is it? Attaining the Supreme. What does the Supreme mean? Krishna and his abode, both. You don't get one without the other. Okay? So we've got that one. Okay. What's the next thing we have to know on the checklist? What's the chapter number, everybody? 8. Okay. What's the chapter number, everybody? 8. How many slokas? Yes, 8. We've got 8 a lot of times in this chapter. How many slokas? 28. 8th chapter, Attaining the Supreme. Okay. What's the next thing I need to know is what section am I in? I'm in the bhakti-yoga section. Yes, I'm in the middle section. This is the critical part of the Gita. Carefully protected, the pearl between the two shells. I'm in the middle section and I'm in the second chapter. We're doing contextual reference. It's a little bit like GPI. Where am I on the planet? Right. Okay, next. What is the topic breakdown? Right? The topic breakdowns. How many topics are there? 6 topics. We said that. 6. We have key words for all of them. The first one is what's your key word? Questions. The first topic is the 8 what? Questions. Yes. This is a very deep chapter. It's a deep chapter. We could sit and read the slokas, but we can miss the point. Very easy to do. In fact, it always happens. It almost always happens, unless you're so acute to studying this way. We're trying to give you the skills on how to analyze to make your job easy and beneficial. Not just easy, beneficial. All right, what's the next key topic? Remembering, yes. How am I going to remember you at the time of death? When I'm choked up with mucus and I'm 40,000 scorpion bites at one time. Prabhupada says there's no such thing as a peaceful death. It looks like it, but All right, what's the third topic? Yoga Mishra, right, mixed. Or Sat Chakra Yoga. That's your third topic. And remember, that plus the next chapter are the comparisons, the first of the 2 comparisons. That comparison stretches over 2 sections. The other 2 are within the section. Got that point? Yoga Mishra. So what's our 4th topic? Pure devotional service. That's the 4th topic. So we're comparing Yoga Mishra Bhakti with Bhakti. Okay? What's number 5? What's your key word? Number 5 is what? What's our 5th one is worlds, right? We're comparing the 2 worlds, material and spiritual. I have to know there's an alternative or I'll just stay here. And I have to know it's where I'm actually supposed to be. I'm in a foreign environment in an unhealthy state. The disease has to be cured. It's not our natural position. We're spiritual, bound up by, we're prisoners of matter, literally. Prisoners of matter. Okay, and what's the final one? The superiority, right, the superiority of bhakti because of the time. You don't have to calculate with bhakti. Is it summer, the moon is waxing, there are no clouds in the sky? What's this? Even very few could ever practice that and succeed. So bhakti is again considered pure, superior. That's the final section. Okay, everybody got those sequences? All right, now let's go quickly down to the numerical checklist. On the retentions, we're on your retention page. We're standby. Okay, number 1, Krishna is addressed as Puru what? Purushotama. Stay on the same page, folks. Some of you are flipping. Go back to your retention page. I don't know if it's working with the slides helps at all. I think you should put them on the charts. I don't know. Go back to the chart because they're getting lost. We tried this method to show you the answer, but it doesn't seem to work as well. Okay, you got the chart? Retention checklist, go study guide. The first one is Purushottam. Go back, go back, go back, go back. Krishna is considered the Purushottama. He's addressed as that. Why? Because he is supreme. You're going to get it throughout this chapter. Who is supreme? We're talking about the supreme. Who is the supreme? Krishna. Number 1. Now we're going to get number 2. Where is our checklist? The one that they have, the retention pages. Study guide. Okay? You see the same page that they're looking at or should be looking at? Do you have that, Abai? There we are. That's it. Okay, do you see it? Yes. One Supreme Lord. Everybody check it. Who is he? Krishna. That is Purushottama. That is Purushottama. Just like in the 15th chapter. Purushottam Yoga. Number 2, what are we comparing?
2 worlds.
Yeah, 2 worlds. Superior and what? Inferior. What else do we compare? 2. Times of leaving what? The body. During the light or during the darkness. Living entities. To compare, go back. Living 2 kinds of entities. Brahman or Par-Brahman, because he's asking what's Brahman. But we are not Par-Brahman. We are part of Brahman, but we are not Pada Brahman. Only Krishna is Pada Brahman. That distinction must be made or it's Mayavad philosophy. Very important. The next one, 3 features of the Absolute. And what are they? Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Each is an aspect, but the complete is the Bhagavan realization, and that is bhakti. That is bhakti. 5 kinds of fire and 5 kinds. I put that in there, but I really should have shown the 5 rasas. That's explained in the 14th verse purport. We have an eternal relationship with Krishna either as in the neutrality form, servitorship, friendship, parenthood, or conjugal. It's there. It's already there. We're here to revive it. We have to get back to that position. Okay? And the 6 transformations, everybody has to acknowledge that. Even someone who doesn't remember his birth, he's not afraid of his death. You better believe everybody in this world is afraid of changing bodies. Everybody. They look in the mirror and they can't believe what's happening. birth, old age, disease, and death. From birth to growth to duration to byproducts to dwindling and vanish. And we're going to see little clips of videos as well, in the video as well. Arjuna's 8 questions, we've gone over that. Okay? So you've got your checklist there. All right, now we're very quickly going to run through the study guide on the section, so please take your section. And what we do is we look at the words first, and then we quickly go to the slides that show you the picture. This is not an attempt to cover the slokas. But the interesting thing about each of the slokas is that almost every one of them reinforces the point Krishna keeps saying, without fail, without fail, guarantee, promise, promise. You'll see, he's reassuring us, and why Prabhupada said, should we disbelieve Krishna himself? All right, so you all have now, are we on the first question list, right? Okay. All right, so our first one contains 4 key words. What's your first key word? Inquired. Yeah, he's asking. He inquired. And then what's the next key word? Death, because that's the way he ends it. And then what do we have as the next key word? Brahman. And then what's the next key word? Super soul. Krishna's saying, I am that super soul. He's telling you who you should be aiming for. All right, quickly, let's go to the slides. This is going to be a lot of fast work between the pictures and the slides, because we don't want to try to do all at once. They have to look at the first section and look at those 4 words with pictures. Look at the pictures, because the pictures give you the visual retention. What's Arjuna doing? He's inquiring. And in the first 2 slokas, 8 questions. We went over that already. The next sloka is what? Death. Now there's someone who succeeded. Haridas Thakur not only died seeing the Lord, but the Lord was carrying him. The Lord personally put him in samadhi. Who could be so fortunate? And he came from a Muslim background. That's what you call the advantage of Krishna consciousness. It's not sectarian. It's the soul. So death was the second word. Haridas Thakur. And he says, Madhusudan, how can those engaged in devotional service? That's the key. No, if you're not engaged in devotional service, you're not likely to think of Krishna at death. That's the beauty of bhakti. 24 hours engagement. That's the beauty of bhakti. All right? Now let's look at number 3. Brahman, the light. It's pretty boring to look at. If you came in here and we just had a light on the screen, you wouldn't last too long. You'd go out. Yet some people, that's what they do. They look at a candle. It's very difficult to meditate on something like that. And this is very hard to read here, but he is the infinitesimal, indestructible Brahman. And he describes that is the living entity, but he is not Parabrahman. Okay? And the 4th word was what again? Yes, I'm the super soul in everybody. In the elephant, in the dog eater, in the sadhu. I'm the super soul in everybody. That's who I am. Represented as the super soul, he says. Super soul is expansion of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And he's everywhere. He's in the floor. He's everywhere. You can't escape him. He's everywhere. You can't escape Krishna. You may think you do. Okay, so you've got those 4 words. That's your first section. So when you go back and read these slokas, you will see that this will help you. Now let us look at the next. We have 5 slokas on remembering. And you'll see it's the same words practically. Okay, let's take a look at the words. You got the chart? The first word for sloka 5 is what? Remembering. Yes. And what's the next one? Yeah, what state am I going to be in? Because that's where I'm going to go. Meditation means destination. What do I think of at that critical moment? My aunt? my husband, my wife, my puppy dog? It can happen. Bharat Maharaj is he's the classic example. And what's the next word? Think. And what's the next word? Meditate. Look what we had. Remember, state, think, meditate, very hard. No, they all say the same thing. And they all end with, you're sure to reach me. There is no doubt. Without a doubt. Just check it out. He says the same thing. He's giving you a written guarantee throughout the whole chapter. Prabhupada says, why not go for it? But people won't. It's amazing. That's how heavy the covering can be. And what's the last word? Person. I like this one because this sloka has 10 descriptions of how you should remember Krishna. But I found that my favorite one was person, because this refutes the idea that he has no personality. He's the controller, smaller than the smaller is the maintainer. He's inconceivable. He's achintya, beyond conception, material conception. You know, he knows everything, but he's a person. That is the beauty of bhakti. We've accepted that. Some people have a hard time with that. They don't believe it. Oh no, he's impersonal. He just takes on a material form like us. We're God. He's a person. That's their understanding. It's upside down. All right, let's look at the pictures to help us drive in those 5 words. Ready? Number 1, remembering me alone. Of this there is what? No doubt. That's Gopal Kumar. Such a sweet picture. Next one. Bharat, the classic example. Remember me alone. That state he will attain how? Without fail. You see people stroking their puppy dogs all day long. Scary, isn't it? That's what they're going to think of. And this is important for us. We have 2 bodies, 2 coverings that are superfluous to the soul. Subtle and gross. Both have to be fully engaged. The gross body has to be doing service and the subtle body has to be remembering. It's not as though you can think of Krishna all day and do nothing, or you can do something and think of something else. Both have to be on Krishna. He says, carry out your prescribed duty of fighting, but at the same time, do what? Think of me. That's very important. You have 2 superfluous coverings that have to be dovetailed. One by remembrance and one by active service. That's it. These are superfluous to the soul. You don't need them. And next, finally, meditates. He who meditates on me. Now this is Dhruva. He's the perfect example of the meditative process. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Are we having battery problems again? I hope not. To reach me, okay? He is sure to, what's the key word again? He is sure to. Every sloka is a guarantee. It's amazing. And if you really look at them before you try to memorize them or just read them with nothing happening. Okay, next sloka. And there he's a person. We're not going to go through all 10 again, but that he's a person. That's how you should think of him. Not as a light or just the Brahman, something impersonal. Okay, now quickly, Yoga Mishra. 4 verses there. I think it is 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 2 of them are Om. That's easy. And another one is the word yoga. And another key word again is devotion. Without devotion, even these other processes do not work. There has to be some tinge of devotion even for the other processes to work. So which, number 8, 10, what's your key word? Devotion. Yes. And he will certainly attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If he can do that, certainly attain. And our next word is what? Omkara. Omkara. Right. That is the process. And now Krishna is going to explain how you may attain salvation by this yogic method. Satchakra. Next, what's your next word? Yogic. And again, the process is you have to meditate on the air at the top of the head and on the heart. Establish himself in yoga. That's where their emphasis is. The life air there. And our next word was again Om, vibrating Om. Now Prabhupada says Hare Krishna contains Om. It's superior and it contains Om. Om. You have to vibrate it at that time. All right, quickly, let's take a look at those slides. Here he is. This particular yogi is shown as exemplary. He's using that method to attain Krishna. The next picture, there again is the sign Om. Right. And the next picture, this is the yogic Satchakra picture we saw earlier, comparing those two. Where you get you have to push the life air up through the energy centers to the top of the head. Very difficult. Not for this age, for sure. We've talked about that in chapter 6. And finally, what was the last one? Om. Again, he is certain to reach the spiritual planets by vibrating Om. But Hare Krishna is the best method. Prabhupada keeps saying it's the best method. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay? Quickly now. 3 slokas comparing this with pure bhakti really fast. And what are our key words there? What's our first one? Always. Always. This is the heart sloka. Always think of me. Right? Right. And engagement in devotional service. And this person is, the key word is easy. Prabhupada says, why do they adopt the difficult method? I'm easy to attain by this method. Easily attained. What's your next word? Attaining. Now, from this point on, he's stressing. They don't come back. They don't come back. They don't come back. From this point on, he's stressing, not only do you get me, but you don't come back. Because why would you, if you get something permanent, why would you take something impermanent? And our next word is what? Misery. Yes, misery, where you repeatedly take birth again and again. From the highest planet to the lowest. Famous sloka. All are places of misery, whether it's Brahma Loka, Patala Loka, Marsha Loka, all of them are places of suffering, guaranteed. You can be the Queen of England, you can be the caterpillar on the branch, it doesn't matter. Everyone has to suffer the 3 kleshas. No exemption. Somebody takes birth, that's guaranteed. Guaranteed. Do you want that? You should want out. Okay, and the pictures for that, always, Prabhupada is the perfect example. Next one. The cowherd boys, they had what they called buddhi punya. So much piety that they could attain the association of Krishna and not come back. And the next picture, material world. But if you go to Krishna Loka, you don't have to do this again. This is the advantage of going to Krishna. All right, and our next one, that's it. Okay. All right, now we're going to quickly go the supremacy of devotion. Oh, the times of the day. Let's just look at the pictures now, I think, because we have to allow a little bit of time. We have about 15 minutes of some really good little video. All right, quickly, the times of the day calculated. Remember, 311 trillion years. This shows you 1 day of Brahma, 1 cycle. And that is 4,300,000,000 years. That's 1 day. Now, Krishna came 5,000 years ago. Is that very recent? Yes. Lord Chaitanya 500 years ago. Is that recent? Yes. Out of 4,300,000,000, and day and night makes 8,600,000,000. And his whole life is 311 trillion. We are nothing. We're not even a flash. If Brahma's a flash, what are we? Not even a blink. All right, next. manifest. Now this is important. At the beginning of Brahma's day, we all become manifest. We come out of the body of Mahavishnu. What happens at night? Next slide. We become what? Unmanifest. For 311 trillion years. Is that a long time? Asleep? Not a nice proposition. And then you come out again for another 311 trillion years to suffer. But now he's comparing. There is another world that is unmanifest. So this is different. What is not manifest to us is the spiritual world, and it is eternal. It is always there. It's not manifest and unmanifest. The material world is both. It's eternal, but it's both manifest, but the spiritual world is always manifest. Okay, that's the one we aim for. And our last one, the Vedantas describe this as that which is known as the supreme destination, and they now tell you, the Vedantas say, if you go there, you do not come back. And Krishna reminds you, that is my supreme abode. And our final one is, what gets us there? Unalloyed devotion. Now this is the perfect slide because Krishna is saying, I'm not only attainable that way, I am everything within and without. I'm all pervading. I'm everywhere. There's nothing superior to me. And finally, the times. This is our last section, the times of the day. We're going to get two. Auspicious, and what's the other one? Be sure Mataji gets prasadam. Are people getting prasadam as they go? Make sure you get them prasadam. Yes, all right. Thank you for coming. All right, and the other one is at night. They go to the moon planet, but they come back. And what's the final one? There are two times that he repeats it, day and night. And finally, the last one, but the devotee, he has to stay fixed in devotion. That way he is not concerned about these two. And finally, the last one, he attains me, and at the end, he accomplishes everything else from other processes, whether it's study, austerity, sacrifice, charity. But in addition to that, he attains Krishna, and he reaches the supreme abode. That is the supremacy of bhakti, above all. Okay, now the last thing we want to do is quickly look at some videos. We want to see video of Prabhupada in 74, because this is our compare-contrast. What he was like at the height of his strength, his power, and the next one will be what he was like when he came here to leave his body. Pretty heavy, okay? Ready?
Bhakti means that we have to clear ourselves of the designations.
No designations.
No designation. Everyone is thinking, I'm American, I'm Indian, I'm European, I'm Australian, and so on.
The screen, bye. Okay, we have to cleanse this bodily conception of life. We are Brahman. We are not the body. If you identify with the body, you have to take a material body again. You don't want to do that. Okay, now let's take a quick look at the transformations. This first section, we're going to see how the body changes. How does the body change?
Every 5 weeks, etc. Practically,
this happens to everyone, and it scares people.
as the changes occur very slowly,
And they don't know what's happening. The body is changing every minute, and when you get older, you see it happening by the day.
to our imperfect eyes. But if you look at it with eyes of knowledge, it turns out that at every moment some flames are extinguished and others appear. The impression that I remain the same is only because of the
We
constant
think
nature
we are are the same because we are soul. But the body is constantly, every minute it's changing. We're transmigrating by the minute.
Reincarnation, that is, the change of the body in one life. In fact, the child's body does not look like the body of an adult, and an adult human body is different from the body of a decrepit old man.
And then vanish, the final stage, death. Okay, now very quickly, the next one. This is the chakra one. We explained that. This is where we got this.
Power plant, which is designed to elevate the consciousness of the soul circulates through subtle energy centers of the body, the chakras, which are responsible for specific functions. The lowest chakra, Muladhara, is responsible for the accumulation of vital energy and its unrefined form. Its influence in our lives is seen as a hoarding instinct.
Taking, hoarding.
Second chakra,
You notice people like to hoard and
is
collect?
linked to human sexual function.
This is the sexual drive coming from the next chakra.
Manipur is in the area
Food,
of the solar
digestion.
plexus or stomach and is responsible for digestion. These three lower chakras are related to human physiology. The fourth chakra in the heart area is called Anahata, and it is responsible for emotions, love, compassion, and mercy. The fifth chakra is located in the throat at the base of the tongue and is associated with the communicative function of the human ability
The speech.
articulate thoughts. Chakra, Agya or Agya,
The ability to perceive things as they are. The third eye is here.
the highest seventh chakra near the junction of the three cranial bones,
And this is the chakra point where the yogis leave through that chakra.
which symbolizes the full potential of consciousness, while the lower chakra symbolizes the consciousness in the seed stage. So, a human in his development must go from a complete egoist and a consumer to a giving person, to devote himself to spiritual service and to surrender himself to God. A relationship with God through love and devotion. This the heart chakra, the habitat of the soul. Such is the path of harmonization of the chakras. Periphery. The heart chakra is the center and acts as a sort of bridge between the three lower and three higher chakras. Thanks to the spiritual opening of the heart, the lower centers get spiritualized, and this is reflected in the fact that demand for food, sex, and the accumulation naturally diminish. The diet tends to become vegetarian, and sexual love begins to transform itself into a higher form. As for the higher chakras, the human speech, depending on the condition of the fifth chakra, is cleared of dirty language, becomes more spiritualized. The sixth chakra begins to provide an understanding of life, and this not only understand God, but to love Him, because his intelligence becomes emotionally charged due to the opening of the heart. Based on this, a person decides to devote himself to spiritual practice, in which there is a direct contact with God, and all soul, eternity, knowledge, and happiness are fully realized.
Okay? And the last thing we're going to see, this is a place of pilgrimage. Prabhupada coming to this place in 77 to enter his eternal pastimes. And it's a little heavy to see him in that condition, but he said, don't think it won't happen to you. So this is Prabhupada coming to this house, now 42 years ago, to depart. Okay? Having so much trouble.
Such a devotee who is fully peaceful is extremely rare.
He's coming in here, the entranceway to the house. Okay, so by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and we will stop it here. Okay? So we're in a very sacred place of pilgrimage, Prabhupada's house, where he entered his eternal pastimes just in the next room. So I hope you found this quite helpful today. It's a very difficult chapter. Oh yeah, here's our prayer. Let's read this one together before we go. This is the prayer in case we may not attain complete perfection in this lifetime. It's a possibility, right? But we want to try to aim for perfection. So I will read and then you repeat. Again, offering obeisances.
Again, offering obeisances.
Unto all you brahmanas.
Unto all you brahmanas.
I pray. That if I should again. Take my birth. In this material world. I will have. Complete attachment. To the unlimited Lord Krishna. Association with his devotees. And friendly relations with all living beings. Hare Krishna. Jai. So we can have a nice meditation prayer there. We thank you all for coming. We're sure you get prasadam. Please do return your exam boards. You keep your study guides, of course, and your pen. Yeah, if any of you want any of these materials, you can have my email, and often people do see them, either video or they come and they receive the dailies, not only the daily slides, but they receive access to all 18 chapters, plus updates in the last, since almost 8 updates. Thank you so much for coming. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubheva patitanam pavanebho vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We've run quite a bit of time over. Sorry, we couldn't squeeze in more, but usually we're given a little extra time because we try to do so much. To try to do it in 2 days has not proved effective. Often we get different people.